Hi, this is Patrick Shedevy, and I would like to share with you today what I learned about commitment from Nephi and Laman. But before we get into that, I want to share with you a story that I heard somewhere, and it goes something like this. There was a father and a son, and they were eating breakfast together, and the son asked the father, "Dad, in school we've been learning about the difference between commitment and contribution, and I'm not sure I'm completely clear on the topic. Can you help me?" And the dad took a moment to think, looked down at his breakfast, and said, "Son, look at this breakfast we have here. We've got ham and we've got eggs. Now the chicken made a contribution, but the pig made a commitment." Now I'm not saying that this extreme example of how the pig gave his life for that breakfast is how every commitment needs to be, obviously. But the idea of commitment is something that is more absolute, something that's rock solid, not just an offering or I'm willing to put in a little bit of effort or do a little bit towards something. Commitment is something more. Most people want the trophy, but they're not willing to put in the work that is required to get that trophy. Now, you may have heard people say that they are all in. This all-in concept means that you're willing to do whatever it takes. You don't count the cost ahead of time. You just go and do it, and no matter what it takes, you're going to do it. I want to share with you a story about Nephi, one hero of mine who was all in, one hero of mine who did whatever it took. Now, we all know the famous verse in 1 Nephi chapter 3, verse 7, where it goes like this, "And it came to pass that I, Nephi, said unto my father, I will go and do the things which the Lord hath commanded." Now that's a famous verse. All of us know it. But there's a verse that's a little bit less well known, which I feel is just as important to this same idea. And it's verse 15 of the same chapter. So this is where Nephi's brethren are kind of mourning or murmuring rather, not wanting to go and do what they needed to do. Nephi says, "But behold, I said unto them that as the Lord liveth and as we live, we will not go down unto our father in the wilderness until we have accomplished the thing which the Lord hath commanded us." Nephi refused to quit. He refused to be denied. Failure to him meant death. If you notice the words, "But behold, I said unto them that as the Lord liveth and as we live, we will not go down to the Father." So he was not willing to go down to his father so long as he was alive. Laman, on the other hand, was ready to quit at the very first sign of difficulty. When his first grumpy, murmuring, unwilling, feeble attempt did not succeed, he was ready to quit and head back to his father's tent. Nephi, on the other hand, didn't count the cost ahead of time. He was willing to do it no matter what it takes. Now, when we're making that kind of a commitment, sometimes the Lord tests our level of commitment. Now, I think that ultimately to make or achieve this level of commitment, you must have a sense that you are acting in unison with God's will. For example, something you may be working towards is marriage, right? You know that marriage is something that the Lord desires for you. So you know you're in unison with God's will, or honorably providing for your family. You know that is something that God desires for you. So you're in unison with God's will, or performing the responsibilities of your calling, fulfilling your life mission or vision, right? So these are things that if you align yourself with God's will, then you know that you're on the right track. Now I want you to listen to these words of Nephi when his brothers were wanting to quit. This is after their second attempt, right, where they brought all their riches that they had left at home over to Laban so that they can get the brass plates. And that attempt proved to be a failure, right? And so Nephi says this, "And it came to pass that I spake unto my brethren, saying, Let us go up again unto Jerusalem, and let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. For behold, he is mightier than all the earth. Then why not mightier than Laban and his 50, yea, or even than his tens of thousands?" Basically, he's saying, no matter how strong Laban is, God is greater. God can make things happen. So I don't care if he sends 10,000s, plural, right? Tens of thousands of people against us. God can make us successful. God can prevail. So he continues, Therefore, let us go up, let us be strong like unto Moses, for he truly spake unto the waters of the Red Sea, and they divided hither and thither. And our fathers came through out of captivity on dry ground, and the armies of Pharaoh did follow, and were drowned in the waters of the sea. Now behold, ye know that this is true, and ye also know that an angel hath spoken unto you. Wherefore can ye doubt? Let us go up. The Lord is able to deliver us, even as our fathers, and to destroy Laban, even as the Egyptians. So here you get a better feeling again for Nephi's commitment level. He's going to do it. He's going to make it happen. He knows that God is on their side, even if he doesn't know what exactly he's going to do, right? A few verses later, he says he went forth not knowing what he should do. If we read verses 5 and on, and it was by night, and I caused that they should, meaning talking his brothers, hide themselves without the walls. And after they had hid themselves, I, Nephi, crept into the city and went forth towards the house of Laban. And I was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. So even though he didn't know exactly what he was going to do, he knew that he was on the Lord's errand. His commitment was complete. Now, finally, when Nephi found Laban and was faced with exactly what he needed to do, you get a sense that Nephi was actually being tested to his utmost limits as soon as he realized the actual cost that he would have to pay. He hesitated. But in the end, he did the Lord's will. Now, keep in mind that just because you're committed to something, it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful the first time or even the second time. I mean, you look at Laman's first try, then they tried again. This time it cost them all of their riches that they had, right? And then still Nephi was determined. And I'm convinced that had Nephi failed this third time, he would have gone again, tried something different, prayed for more revelation to know what to do. He would have just kept at it until he achieved the purpose. Another thing that is important for you to remember is that if you start off by telling yourself that it can't be done, then you have already lost. Let's take a look at 1 Nephi chapter 3, verses 5, 14, and 31. And now, behold, thy brothers murmur, saying, It is a hard thing which I have required of them. But behold, I have not required it of them, but it is a commandment of the Lord. So this is Lehi telling Nephi how his brothers were reacting. So right from the very start, Laman and Lemuel were murmuring, saying, It's too hard, it can't be done. Verse 14, but Laman fled out of his presence, speaking of Laman's first attempt, right? He fled out of Laban's presence and told the things which Laban had done unto us. And we began to be exceedingly sorrowful, and my brethren were about to return unto my father in the wilderness. So the first failure, and all of a sudden they're saying, oh, it can't be done, give up, go home. And the best one is verse 31. And after the angel had departed, Laman and Lemuel again began to murmur. So they had just barely seen an angel, right? And Laman and Lemuel still murmur, saying, How is it possible that the Lord will deliver Laban into our hands? So even after an angel tells them that he'll deliver them, his brothers they can't believe it. And in their minds, they're saying, it can't be done. Behold, he is a mighty man, and he can command 50, yea, even he can slay 50. Then why not us? Right? So if you start off any kind of commitment by thinking that it can't be done, your commitment level will be so low, there is no chance that you will actually achieve it. So you have to get rid of that out of your mind. Now take the approach that Nephi did in the following verses, which is the beginning of chapter 4, which is what we read earlier. That's where he said, God is mightier than Laban's 50 or even his tens of thousands, right? So if you have that attitude that Nephi had, then you can have the commitment level that is required. Remember, faith and fear cannot coexist in the same person at the same time, said Joseph Smith. Also remember, if you know you are doing the Lord's will, He is on your side and wants you to succeed. If you know that you are doing the Lord's will, He is on your side and wants you to succeed. Nevertheless, of course, He will allow you to struggle, to face difficulties. He will test your level of commitment. He will push you to your limits. But if you have God as your partner and you follow His direction, in the end, you cannot fail. I want you to ask yourself this question. How would you approach achieving your life vision, or even any of your other goals for that matter, if you knew that you could not fail? Isn't this exactly how Nephi approached obtaining the brass plates? Again, 1 Nephi chapter 3, verse 15. As the Lord liveth and as we live, we will not go down unto our father in the wilderness until we have accomplished the thing which the Lord hath commanded us. He knew that if God commands something, he provides a way to accomplish it. Even though they had unsuccessful trials at first, right? Or attempts. They tried several times and it didn't work. He still knew that they can succeed because God was on their side. For me, knowing that with God I cannot fail makes all the difference in the world. Therefore, the most important thing for me to know is what is God's will. If my path and my actions are in alignment with His will, and as I seek to follow His direction, I then know that I cannot fail. When I know I cannot fail, my commitment level gets very high. It shoots through the roof. I feel the strength to keep moving forward, even in the face of opposition of many sorts and any kind. So my hope for you is that you gain this level of commitment for your life vision. Beyond that, learn to make commitments that move you forward. Learn to keep those commitments. When you commit to something good, be truly committed, just like Nephi was. If you show me a person who knows how to make and keep commitments, there you have a person who will have much success in their chosen endeavors. And this is what I hope for you. Have a great day.